guys, this is Ricky from Ricky's Pretties, and today I've got a little paper project that I'm working on. I decided that I wanted to create a journal, and I was inspired by this cardstock that I got. It's got little hedgehogs and bunny rabbits and squirrels, and I just thought it was the cutest thing. And so I got the idea to do like a little woodland backyard creature kind of, outdoor journal type thing. So that's what has inspired this project, and now I'm just going to be starting to make some papers for it. I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. These are textured papers that I have made. This is with an old napkin that I got at Dollar Tree, and it's got some texture under it. It's got bits of lace here and there, and you can feel the texture. It makes the paper really nice. You can fold it up and use it in one of your signatures. You can cut out the little images and make pockets or tags or anything like that with this. And this is the back side of it. And this is just packing paper like they give you at Hobby Lobby when you buy something that's glass or a picture that they need to wrap up. They will give you this paper. And if you save it, then you can do this with it. I kind of brushed a little bit of water mixed with a little paint, mixed with a little mica powder on here, which gives it this little shiny. I don't know if you can see that, but it's kind of shiny. And then I tea stained the paper. I tore it into sections first, and about the size that I thought I might want to use. And then I just put a few tea bags in a 13x9 baking dish and poured a couple of cups of hot water over it, let it steep a little bit till it got as dark as I wanted it, removed the tea bags, and then laid the paper in there one by one on top of each other, and until they absorbed all of the tea. And then I put it in the oven at about 250 for about 20 minutes, and that dried it and gives it a really pretty effect. I'll show you what that looks like. This is how it comes out. This was one of the top sheets. The top sheets really turn out pretty cool. Looks like it's been aged quite well. So that's kind of what we're working with. And then these are some other papers that I did. Just examples of texture only. I've used some herbs and spices, some thread, little bits of material, little bits of lace in here, and it's just made a nice textured page. And then here's another one that I did. I used blue for this one. And now you could cut this up. You could use this for cards. You could glue this to some cardstock and use it to make cards with. You can make pockets with this. You can use it for signatures. You could even cut this and sew pieces of material and leftover lace to it to make a snippet. There's all kinds of things that you can do with this neat paper, and I'm going to show you how I did this. So I'm going to set this aside. And I also have some brown packing paper. We get boxes at work, and the girls from work save this for me, and I just tear it up into about the size I want, and I tea stain it like regular. And it does kind of make it look aged. It doesn't show up quite as well as the light, but it does still make it look a little more aged than it would be otherwise. There's some spots on here. I don't know if you can see it, but it does kind of age it a little bit. So it does still work even though the paper's dark, and I think that just adds another element to it. This is the kind of packing paper you get in your Chewy boxes. So if you have pets, you'll get this type of paper in with your Chewy orders. Okay, so let's get to it, shall we? What I have here is I've got some napkins, my paper, I've got my projects all laid out here so we can do several of them. I have torn up bits of tissue, some torn up bits of tea stained paper already torn up in here in this bowl. I have some herbs. You can use herbs, you can use spices, you can use dried flowers, material scraps, napkin scraps, lace scraps, anything that you have you can use for this. And so I've got little pieces of thread. Don't throw your thread away if you sew. Save all your little scraps of thread because you can even do stuff with that. And I even have a little piece of twine here, little bits of ribbon. I've got some material scraps, and mixed in here somewhere I got these little lace appliques, or I'm sorry, they're not lace, they're little, I don't know what it's made out of, a little nylon material or something, but it's a flat little butterfly applique, and I thought it would lend itself well to this particular project, so we're gonna probably use one or two of those in this. And so for this first project, I want to use this butterfly napkin, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with this. First thing we're going to do is, I don't want the whole page to be covered. I just want part of it. So I think I'm going to go this butterfly on down this way, and I'm going to just get it torn off that direction. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm using water here, and I'm just going around where I want to tear it. I might not want that one in there. And I'm just going to go around. Actually, I'm just going to go down this way because I don't really want. Oh, that's glue. Don't do that. I've got glue in here. Don't do that. We just want water for now. So anyways, yeah, I get happy and I just don't pay attention to what I'm doing sometimes. Y'all will figure this out. So, oops, don't tear it. It's always a challenge when you're making these videos to pay attention to what you're doing and be able to show others. I don't always master that, but we muddle through somehow, don't we? Might need to wet that some more. I don't think it stayed wet. I want this one, and I got that wet, so I'm going to carefully go around that one. There we go. Yep, it's drying out on me. I keep trying to stick that in the glue. I don't know why. Okay, so here, we just about got that torn out. Okay, now we're going to set this aside for a minute. Yeah, okay. And so we want to go around the bottom of this too, because I don't want a hard edge on it. So we're just going to kind of tear that. And this may be too big for our paper, and that's okay. Doesn't have to be exactly the same size. Okay, now I've got that. And we're just going to use the top part of this, so I'm going to separate this from the back. save this for something else later. And now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet this straight across. And I'll show you why here in just a minute. Where'd my brush go? Here we go. Losing my mind today, y'all. Just losing it. Just going to go straight across here. Okay, and then we can just set this part aside. And now I'm going to separate this napkin carefully. And this time we're going to keep the white. And we're going to set the image aside. And what that does is, for our paper, we're going to have a top and we're going to have a bottom, like so. So, now what we're going to do is we're going to coat this with some glue. This is some Elmer's glue. It's Elmer's glue, and I've mixed it with just a little bit of water just to make it runny. You know, you don't want it too thin, but you don't want it too thick either. So you should just be able to slap it on here, and that's what we're going to do. We're just going to slap this on. Paint it down. I've got wax paper underneath this, so you can get messy. Try not to stick your elbows in it. I'm famous for doing stuff like that too. All my crafty friends know this. Sometimes you get together with people and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so messy. I know, I try to be neat on these videos though, I do. Okay, so I'm just going to keep applying this. And we want to go all the way to the edge. And do apply liberally. You're going to need quite a bit of glue on here. You don't want it to dry on you while you're putting your texture pieces on. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to do some dill weed. I like how this smells. And we're just going to shake, shake, shake. Shake it out. Put it on there. It's going to add some texture. And then we're going to put some thyme. I don't know if this will look different or not, but it might. A little bit, not much. So I'll use that. And then I want to put this up here. Going this way, I think, is where I want it. So I'm going to stick that down pretty good. Probably put a little glue over that. And now I want this blue material. I saw it over here somewhere. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, now I'm going to cut some blue snippets. Just random. I have these little fussy cut scissors with me, and I'm just going to cut some of this on here in random little places all over. Okay, and then I've got bits of lace. I think I'm going to go with this one here. And I'm going to do the same thing. You don't want all of your shapes to be exactly the same, so cut them, some of them a little different. You know, cut some of them long ways, cut some of them in little pie shapes, just random. Do little random shapes so that they don't look the same. And just kind of stagger them around. Okay, like so. Let's put a little piece up there. Maybe another piece up here in this corner. Maybe one up here. Maybe one down here. We'll just put that one right there. And watch that you don't get them like you don't want 1, 2, 3. You see what I mean? You want them kind of spread out and just to look totally random is what you want. You want randomness. Okay, now I'm going to take some thread. I've got some blue thread. And I'm just going to snip that around and put that different places. Okay. And now I'm ready to do my butterfly. And I'm just going to lay this napkin. I want the whole butterfly to show, so I'm going to put that on here. About right here. You do not need saran wrap for this at all. No saran wrap required, because we're just going to stick that down. Okay, and then we're going to take our reverse piece and set it over the top of this. Like so. And we're going to tear this edge off because we're going to put little pieces up here. Don't worry if this is wrinkled. It does not matter if it's wrinkled. And then we're going to do the same thing with this. We're just going to tear some more pieces. You just want to cover the whole paper with this napkin. You don't want any part of it left uncovered. And it doesn't matter if it extends off of the edge of the paper. We're going to clean that up later. I don't want my design covered up too much by that, so I'm going to tear that a bit. I'm just going to work right down here around the edge of my design. And I think this is going to turn out really cool, y'all. I'm going to like this piece. It's going to look neato. And you want to work fairly quickly so your glue doesn't dry on you, because you do want this to stick. Okay, and any little places that you see that aren't covered, just go ahead and stick a little piece on top of there. It will not matter if it's layered up. It is a-okay. There's a little piece of thread poking through there. Okay. Let's see another little place over here. And maybe down here. And over here. And right there. Okay, now that everything's covered up, we're going to put another layer of glue on top of it. So we're just going to slather this on. And if it rips, that's fine. You can patch that up. Don't worry about it. You don't have to use a heavy hand. You just want to go over it lightly. But you do want to cover it in the glue. Pay attention to your little edges. And see where that ripped? I'm just going to patch it. Now, if you were decoupaging something, you probably would want to be careful and not rip it. but we're not really doing that. We're making textured paper. So any layer we add to this is just going to add to the texture. So that's what I mean when I say you do not have to be careful. What you don't want is air bubbles. So make sure you soak your napkin really well. I'm going to pick this up to make this easier. We have to mix some more of this for other papers that we have here. A little bit of this goes a long way. But you do just want to soak through your napkin all the way. So be generous with your glue. And this is why you want it a little thin. You don't want it too thick, otherwise it's going to be hard for you to spread over this without tearing your napkins. There was an air bubble, so we want to tamp those down. Wrinkles are okay, air bubbles you don't want. And we're just going to continue on, make sure everything's covered. So those air bubbles, just want to get rid of them. There's our little peekaboo butterfly. No air bubbles. See that? No air bubbles. Just going to tamp those out. Now when this dries, our design's going to be showing through, our little bits of lace are going to be showing through, our threads are going to show through. This is going to be really, really pretty. And this is just a fun little project that you can do in front of the TV. Just, you know, it's random, it's mindless, you don't have to think about it too much. It's just really nice because sometimes you just want a mindless little project that you don't have to think about too much. And this is going to look so pretty in a journal. It would make a beautiful card. I see a hole. I'm going to patch that up. It's either a hole or something I didn't get that down good. Maybe I didn't get that down good. I think this is still a hole right here. Though. Put that over that. Oh, there's a hole. You know, it's not going to be a tragedy if you miss a spot, but you don't want your little herbs and pieces of string coming out or poking through. So really you just want to make sure you get all the air bubbles out that you can see. Plus you don't want the paper separating on you after you get it in your journal. You want it all stuck down really well. You want this paper stuck to each other. Now I'm just kind of going and checking for air bubbles just to make sure I don't have any. That's, you know, bits of lace. There's a bare spot. Put a little colored piece on that. And that's okay too. It'll add to the randomness. I may just do another little piece or two of what we got rid of earlier. That might be kind of cool to just stick that on there. I might like that. Okay guys, I think this piece is good. So I'm going to set it aside and we'll do another one. We're just going to set this aside and let it dry. Once it gets all dry, I will show you what it looks like. I'm going to add a little bit down here real quick. And don't worry, this is why we're using the wax paper, because this paper, once it's dry, will separate from this wax paper. And if it doesn't separate very well, you can just cut around it. And then it will separate. So we're going to set this aside over here. I've got a table set over here for that. And then we're going to move on to our next piece. I decided I wanted to use this piece with this napkin. And this time I'm just going to cover, I've separated this out already. You don't really want to use, we'll save this in case we need that for something else. But you don't want, some of these napkins have 2 or 3 layers, and you don't really want all of these layers. So we're just going to set this aside. Now this one, some of these napkins you can see a pattern on, and those are really cool. We're going to do one like that here in a minute. But for now, we're just going to set this aside because this is white. It doesn't have a pattern on it, so we're not going to use it. And so for this one, we're just going to apply this to the whole piece of paper. But first we're going to do exactly what we did before. And we're just going to apply the glue. Okay, and for this one, I'm going to use little bits and pieces of tissue paper, I think. I'm just going to put some of these around random, like some of my papers that I have. Over here. And that's probably good enough, and I am going to go ahead and stick those down. Okay, and now I'm going to use some thyme. It's got a little coarser texture to it than the dill. So it'll just kind of add to that. Now I've got this material, which I think will be pretty cool to cut up because it kind of goes with that napkin. So we're just going to cut some of this up, little snippets of it. If you get a big snippet, that's okay too. If it lands upside down, that's alright. We're just snipping. That's how we're done. Threads are great. Use those threads. The more frayed, the better this will be. Okay. Well, a couple up there. And I'm going to use this lace. It's got kind of a cream color to it, so I'm going to use this cream colored lace. Put a few pieces around. Random, like we talked about earlier, ladies. Don't make them all the same shape or put them all in the same place. Just make sure they're super random. some ribbon for this too. Let's use some ribbon. Might be pretty. Oops, that one just went way over there. You're not supposed to be over here. Same thing. Okay, so now I'm just going to lay my napkin over the top of this. And I'm just going to extend it off, and I'm just going to smooth it down. Again, no wax paper required, just pat it down. Now I'm going to separate my napkin so I can work with it easier. Save this bottom piece for another project. No, I don't want it to tear right there. You're not allowed to do that. Okay, so we'll set this aside and save this for something else. I got both of these napkins that I'm using today from my friend Debbie at Kiki's sale. I know I talk about her group a lot, but I just love it. I just love it. It's a great place to get stuff. If you haven't been over there, check it out. Kiki's sale on Facebook. And you must have a profile picture. She doesn't accept robots or hijacked profiles, and you have to answer all the questions, or she will not let you in. So if you do go to try to join the group on Facebook, make sure that you have a profile picture, a real profile, and that you're able to answer those questions. And then she will let you in. She sells all kinds of beautiful stuff. I don't get everything there, you know, of course. There's other places I get things, Hobby Lobby, Michael's. Thrift stores are a great place to find supplies. In fact, you can use potpourri for this if you want to, for your dried flowers. And thrift stores are a great place to find potpourri, because when it gets old, people just want to give it away, and that's what they do. They give it away, and it winds up at the thrift store. And we don't care if it smells good for this project, but it will lend itself really well for texture. So thrift stores are a great place to find craft supplies. I found grapevine wreaths there, Christmas supplies. You wouldn't believe what people just, you know, they think, oh, I'm not going to do anything with this, and then they'll just take it up there, give it away, and it's perfectly good. And there's all kinds of stuff that you can use. I want that air bubble to go away, but I don't want to claw my napkin so much that it tears. See these wrinkles in here? That's perfectly fine. Wrinkles are good. We like wrinkles. We just don't want bubbles. Bubbles are bad. Wrinkles are good. Wrinkles are okay. Bubbles are bad. See our lace is showing through and everything. This is great. Okay. Now I've got one little corner up here that didn't get anything on it, and I'm just going to take some of this and put it up here. To cover that little corner. I don't even know if I'm going to use that corner in my journal, but I might. I might. No, that's a piece of lace, and see, that's wanting to bubble up, so we don't want that. We want to get that stacked down good. Don't let it bubble up. Just want to get rid of that bubble. And here's a bubble. You don't want any bubbles. Just make sure you get that glue everywhere. I'm just double checking for bubbles. I don't want any bubbles. I just want it all stuck down. Okay. That's a bubble. Let's get rid of it. Yep. Meshed it down. Okay. All right, guys. So, my head probably got in the way. And my hair's not done. But that's okay. All right, guys. So, here's our next one. It's all done. We're going to let it dry. We're going to set it aside. I'm going to do this one too. I love this napkin. I got this from Kiki's sale too. I don't know if Miss Debbie can get any more of these, but I thought this would be perfect with my little woodland creature napkin project. So I'm going to do this, but I may do it last because I don't necessarily need to do this one on camera, just because it's going to be done in much the same way that I just did the rose one. I'm just going to put the design all over the napkin. I'm going to put the herbs and the lace and the things like that on there. So I'm going to hold off on doing this one on camera. And I'm going to move on. I'm going to save this big piece because that's what I want this for. But I'm going to move on to this one here because we're going to do this one a little bit differently. And what we're going to do with this is, as I talked about before, this napkin I got on eBay. So like I said, I get supplies from everywhere. But this napkin had like 3 layers to it. And this is what I'm going to show you, because when you peel away this top layer, you can see that on this napkin there is a faint little bit of a design on here. Now that might not look like much, but it's going to show and make a pattern when we put it on our paper. So that's what we're going to do with this. Okay, and yeah, this is what we're going to do. I don't want this rough edge, so I'm going to tear this just a little bit because I want most of the napkin for this. And I do have some scrap pieces of this that I'm going to use on this. And we'll show you what we're going to do. Let me just tear this a little bit. And then we'll get going. And I might use this. Any little scrap that you have, you can use with this, which is what makes this project so fun and amazing, because you can just do anything you want. It's so nice. Okay, so what we're going to do is, I think I'm going to put that in the middle, because I'm probably going to use a little bit of my extra napkin piece to go around the edges, because I want my design in the middle. So what I'm going to do, we're going to texture it first, of course. This is what we're going to do. Paint it with glue. Paint it with glue. Let me get my brush back in here where it belongs so I don't lose it again. And I think we've got just enough glue for this last little project here. I think we've got just enough to get this done. That hardly ever happens. I hardly ever mix up just the right amount of anything. If I'd have done that other sheet, that wouldn't have happened. But I think this is going to be great. Move that up a little bit. If I did get on camera and I scared y'all, I'm sorry. I don't have any makeup on right now, because I don't usually get on this camera. Try to avoid it as much as humanly possible. Okay, so now let's get our, we're going to use that, so we're not going to do this, but we're going to use little bits and pieces of string for this one. I like the string. Ooh, I've got some embroidery floss, that'll look cool. Let's put some of that on there. Let's put some here. Let's put some there. And I think that'll do for the string. I got fuzzy on me. And then I'm going to use little bits and pieces of lace. Use some of that. Some of this, some of that. And I've got this over here too. I'm going to use this string. That would be cute. Let's use that too. Put this down here. Oops. No, you stay there. Well, that just don't want to stay, does it? I'm going to tamp this down with some glue because it's not wanting to stay. And that's kind of aggravating me. Just a little. My craft projects. How many of y'all get aggravated by your craft projects? I'm sure there's quite a few of you that do. I'm not alone in that, I hope. I see my threads getting all everywhere, but you know what? That's okay. Adds to the texture and the uniqueness of this project. I'm not sure I want that in a straight line, so let's angle that. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way. And now I'm going to add some of this around the bottom. I'm going to put this around my edges up here. Looking cool so far. Fingers are getting sticky. That's what happens when you work with glue. This is going to go down here. This is drying kind of fast on me. Okay, and I'm going to do, let's see. Give me another little piece. I ran out of that, didn't I? I sure did. Alright, now I'm going to put some dill weed. I think the green of the dill will be pretty with this if it shows through, which it will. It's going to look really cool, y'all. It's going to look great. It's going to look so cool. Okay, and now, I didn't tear this, did I? No. Tear it up, Rick. Forgot about this edge. If I'm putting it in the middle, I want this edge torn too. So let's just tear it real quick. We can put some of that on there if we want to, which I do. Okay, and now we are going to put this down like this, right on top of that. Okay, and now we're going to glue down that. And you'll see with this one, all of our little herbs are going to show through. Our slight pattern of our napkin is going to show through. This is moving around on me. But it's just going to look so neat. able to see how this turns out, and you'll be like, oh wow, that's cool. And you won't be able to tell probably until it's dry. So we're gonna have to let these dry, and then I'll come back and show y'all. So I do have a couple of little areas that need some napkin. This one up here, so I'm going to add that piece there. And then there's one over here that needs some napkin. I'm going to put that over there. I might just frame this whole paper with this because I think that'll be pretty. Let's do that. Let's make a little frame. It'll look pretty cool. Sometimes I just create on the go, y'all. I have an idea how I want things to look, but sometimes I just kind of go with the flow and see stuff I like as I go. And I like this idea. That's going to be so pretty. It's going to add a little frame. Let's do this. See, my edge got turned up. I don't want my edge to be turned up. Okay, now I've got my little frame on here. I'm almost out of glue. Alright. Looking for air bubbles. We don't want those. Oops, I ripped it. Let's patch it up. Okay. I really don't see very many air bubbles in this, so this one is looking pretty good, y'all. This piece of lace, so we're going to leave that alone. We'll just add a little bit more napkin over the top of it, I think, is what we'll do. Left an edge on that one, but no, I think it's going to blend. So anything like that that's sticking up really good, you want to make sure you put a piece of napkin over the top of it so that it doesn't pull loose from your page. And all right, y'all. I think that's it. So double checking, making sure I've got the entire edge of the paper covered and stuck down good with our napkin, which it looks to me like we do. I'm going to cover that little bit of lace up just to make sure it doesn't pull free. And I might add a rose better too in the middle, just for grins and giggles. You don't have to do too much of this. Our pattern's literally really going to show through this, so you'll be able to see it very faintly. So I'm just going to do a couple of little buds here and there. Just like that probably is all I'm going to do. And this is just going to be a beautiful piece of paper when it gets dry. It's a bubble. Yeah, that's a bubble. It's a bubble. And some of my dill had poked through, so I want to make sure I get that covered up. Alright guys, I think we're at a stopping place. We're going to let these dry, and once I get these off of this wax paper, I'll come back and I'll show you how these turned out. Can't wait to see. Alright y'all, we'll be back in a little bit. Okay guys, we're back and our paper's all dry, and as you can see, this turned out really great. I love this. I hope you guys can see this really good. You can see all of our little elements that we put in there, our thread, our butterfly, all our little bits and pieces, our herbs and spices are all showing through. And I think that turned out really neat. Okay, and then this is the rose paper that we did. And of course the tea stain showed through. And all of our little herbs, our little lace pieces are showing through up here. Everything we put on this is showing through. And it's got a nice texture to it. And these edges also turned out great, where we glued those after it dried. I mean, it's not going to tear. That's part of the paper, which is makes it look really cool. And this is going to look great with any project. And then this is our other little piece of paper. I don't know if you can see or not the design in the middle from the transparent napkin that we use, but it is there. It's very faint, but it is there, and it adds just a little extra element to it. I think this paper turned out really pretty. I really like this one. And then this is the bunny rabbit, the little wild critter page that I used the napkin on off camera, and I think this turns out really cute. This is exactly what I wanted it to be. I think I'm going to use this as the cover to my journal and use the cardstock for the inside, and we'll just see how that turns out. I'm probably not going to do the journal on camera, but I may bring it on and show you guys what it looks like after it's turned out, because it'll be the first one that I've made like start to finish without cheating or using some other element. I'm going to actually make it more, as much like a junk journal as I can. But anyways, that's my goal for that. And then the bird paper, I was going to show you, I tore out one of the birds and I made a little tag with it. This is one of the things you can do with this paper, and it's just really cute. I put some little embellishments on there, some lace, and I just glued it to some cardstock. So, you know, and this is a writing space, so this will be a nice addition to the journal. This can get clipped on or tucked in somewhere into a pocket as a little surprise to write on. And then I cut a piece of this off so I could show you guys what I meant by snippet roll. I don't know if some of you know what that is. Usually you do that on a you know, you could use that on, what's that stuff called, seam binding or lace. You can sew little bits and pieces onto it, but you can also do it with paper. And this is a snippet. And as you can see, I've just added some of the little butterflies to this that I had, some bits and pieces of lace, other material scraps, and I added lace to this edge, and it's just sewn on. You just zigzag it on there. That's all you do. And then this would be a cute side piece to a journal. You could use this in your journal. You could make it into like a little side band, use it as a little tuck, cut it in half, you know, because this is awfully big, but you can cut it down, use it as a little tuck. You can just use it as a decoration. You could turn it sideways and use it as a belly band. Just all kinds of things you can do with this. Anyways, I just wanted to show you how everything turned out, and I hope you liked this project. It was really fun to do. Thank you guys for joining me today, and I will see you guys next time.